Hello everyone, welcome back to the Shock Absorber podcast, and it's awesome to have you along with us. And I've got two special guests along with me today. No Stu or Tim, but three J's on the podcast. Triple J.
Whoa, it's a triple J.
Joel, Jai, and Joey. Welcome, guys.
Hey. Also known as the Replacements.
Replacements, yeah.
It's like the show?
Super
movie?
Subs. Yeah, I remember that
movie with Keanu Reeves.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's quite a funny movie, actually.
It is,
Isn't it
isn't
when they have an NFL team, they just get a whole lot of replacements because they strike.
There's a strike. All the teams strike, all the players, and they have to get in either
The other guy.
washed up guys or there was like a sumo wrestler and
There's a Welsh guy. Isn't there some Welsh kicker?
Yeah.
He's the kicker.
Yeah.
It's because he's a football player.
Yeah. Loses money or something and anyway.
Needs a way to get back in.
It was a wild show. Wild movie.
It's not a bad movie.
Yeah.
Speaking of cultural artifacts, you read about a big telescope. Is that right?
This morning, I was just, I don't know how, it came up in my emails or something, but in Chile, in the desert, they're building this extremely large telescope and they're really good with the name, so they've just called it ELT, which is just the acronym for extremely large telescope. And like in the article, like the little pop-up thing, it came up. It says it's going to be the size of a stadium in the Chilean desert, which is set to make their neighbouring very large telescope look positively pedestrian.
Well, I just googled something and said, why are there so many telescopes in Chile?
Yeah. Well, I think it's a good spot.
This is a paradise in terms of astronomy, the Atacama Desert.
Apparently, lots of people are lining up to use it. It hasn't even been built yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, they're just camping out.
Well, I know there's like a bit of a squabble over who gets first go. Or
I see.
I think, it seems to be, apparently they're going to be able to see things that we haven't been able to see. So.
Being a length of a football field?
It's a round shape, so I'm guessing like stadium, like a size of a stadium.
Oh, it's a round one.
Yeah. It's those round ones with kind of like the dome and the kind of gap in the middle, and the telescope goes like that.
Are you planning to visit?
No.
Clear skies, is that why? Like
maybe. Yeah, I guess it's not all that. Was it the light pollution? It makes it difficult to see. Maybe it's pretty free of that.
My Google searching reveals there is a very large telescope, the VLT, which was operating since 1998 as well.
Yeah, so they're really good with names. The very large, the extremely large.
Yeah, that's really interesting.
What comes next?
Oh, so it's the VLT, Very Large Telescope, is an astronomical facility operated since 1998 by the European Southern Observatory, located in the Atacama Desert of northern Chile.
There you go.
There you go.
I heard they're making plans for the next one. It's going to be the ginormous.
Yeah.
GLT.
The GLT. The humongous HLT.
Humongous, yeah.
Yep.
Where do we go to from extremely? The very, very, very extreme.
Super extreme. That's crazy.
Yeah.
Well, my cultural artifact, moving on from the telescope, was there is a new documentary out on Vince McMahon, which I heard about because of The Ringer, which is a site that's started by someone called Bill Simmons, who is an American sports writer. It started as a sports writer and then originally built a site called Grantland, which was for longer form, more interesting fan-based writing. That was an offshoot of ESPN. ESPN fired him for making comments about the NFL commissioner Roger Goodell on his podcast. So then he left and started what they called The Ringer. And then Spotify bought that for $200 million or something like that. But he still runs it. So one of the things that he's using that money for is to produce documentaries. So there was an Andre the Giant documentary recently.
Saw that one.
Yes. So
that was interesting.
He executive produced this Mr. McMahon one, which is Mr. McMahon is the head of WWE Wrestling, World Wrestling Entertainment, which used to be World Wrestling Federation.
Yep.
But it is, I've only watched the first episode, 6 parts. I've only watched the first one last night and I was hooked. I couldn't stop watching. I couldn't turn it off. I was like, I went to bed way too late.
Yeah.
Because it's really, really fascinating. So he takes over his dad's wrestling business. Well, his dad wanted out and he said he was offering it around to people, and Vince, who didn't meet his dad until he was 12, we've just got to fly in the
Oh,
studio.
flies back.
Very annoying. But he didn't meet his dad until 12, and then his dad's like, I'll come and work in the business. And he did for a while. And there's one instance when they are being promoted, or there's a promoter they're having an issue with, and he's saying, well, you either pay me this much money or I'm out. And Vince McMahon Sr. says, well, I'm not going to pay you. So then he's like, Vince, you're in. And Vince just becomes the announcer of the event. Anyway, he eventually buys it from his dad. His dad didn't think he was going to be able to do it. Buys it from his dad. And there was this thing apparently in the wrestling business, pro wrestling business, they called it. In America, there's all these different factions and areas around America where you weren't allowed to go over those boundaries. So you just had this area, this person had this area, this promoter had this area. And Vince takes over. He's like, I'm just going to take over all those areas. So he just went into a lot of them and just pinched the best wrestlers from each different region.
Yeah.
And just said, I'm going to pay you more. And because it's very similar to kind of like, you know, how sports do that thing using TV money, like World Series cricket. The Premier League is the same thing of just going, we're just going to pay more. Yeah. And all the stars end up moving eventually. Yeah. And then everyone's like, we have to do something about this. And then they end up merging everything anyway. Same with the NRL Super League, similar thing. So he did that, took over, and that was the beginning of it. But then he says in an interview in the first episode, I didn't want to call it pro wrestling. I hated that term. I wanted to call it sports entertainment. And so he wants to turn it into this cultural phenomenon. Right. And the first episode is fascinating. Like I said, I couldn't turn it off. Yeah. And he said he just captured so many things from that cultural period. Yeah. Hulk Hogan is the one that changed the business, they reckon, because he pitched them against these kind of, there was the Iranian hostage crisis in 1985, I think. So there was a real American sentiment against the Iranian government. Because it was in the Cold War, like the Russian and East German, he promoted wrestlers to come in and do that. And then Hulk Hogan was the American hero that fought against it. So he really captured what was going on in the cultural zeitgeist at the time. Yeah. And then
he was the ultimate showman as well.
Absolutely. Vince said, I was looking for someone who I really needed to like take on the mantle of being the showman and being more larger than life character. Yeah. And he took that on and that's one of the reasons why it became so big. His wife takes him on a holiday. They go for 2 days down to the Caribbean, and the second day he's like, we're going to do something that's never been done before. It's the biggest wrestling event ever. It's going to be called WrestleMania. And so they decide, WrestleMania is that huge pay-per-view event that it became. Yeah. But at the time, apparently, they mortgaged everything they had to be able to actually do WrestleMania. No way. And they organised all these, because there was this thing of watching live sports, so you would pay to go watch live sports at an arena, but you weren't at the arena. The event wasn't at the arena. Right. So you just watched it on a screen. Yeah. So that's where that whole pay-per-view idea came from. And that's where apparently it was a massive success. He leveraged like Cyndi Lauper and MTV as well. Wow. Cyndi Lauper had a female wrestling event in there, and she was kind of like the promoter of that wrestler.
That was the last time his wife said, let's go on holiday too, I'm sure.
No, probably. Yeah, she's like, so you've been thinking about work all the time anyway.
Well, then you're like, and the mortgage the house to do this. Yeah, so like, let's go on holiday again.
Anyway, so it was interesting just because mid-high school, I was pretty into wrestling. So and it's funny that you laugh at that because everyone's like, don't you know it's fake? But I'm like, that wasn't what, I knew it was fake, but some of the things that those wrestlers were doing, and we talked just before we started, Jai, about Shane McMahon, who is the son of Vince McMahon, used to jump off ginormous heights, so high. Talk about
the Hardy Boys.
The Hardy, see, they were my favorite wrestlers. The Hardy Boys were my favorites. They were insane, doing flips off ladders. Yeah. So my favorite match ever. Shout out to Michael Greaves, who we did it at his place. But we got, I think it was WrestleMania 20, so it was the 20th anniversary, and we did the pay-per-view and got it all sorted. But because it was on a Sunday in America, we slept over at Michael's place and watched it in the morning. Oh wow! Which is and I think we ended up being late for school because it was a huge event. I think that's right. I think I've got that right. One of them was they called it TLC 2, so it's tables, ladders, chairs match, and it was 3. At the time, they pitted 3 different tag teams against each other. So the Hardy Boys, who were actually brothers, I believe. The Dudleys, who said they were brothers, but I don't think they were brothers. Dudley Boys and Edge and Christian were the two other.
Oh yeah.
And I think they had a name, but I can't remember what they were. So that was the three. But they had a table, and one they decided like Hardy Boys were ladders, I think.
Yeah. That
Dudley Boys did tables, and so chairs were so they had this. That weapon was their thing, but they called it a TLC match. So originally they had a show. They used to have two main shows, was Raw and SmackDown, and they had the original TLC match on a Raw or SmackDown. I can't remember which, but then they put it on WrestleMania and made it TLC, and it was an insane match. Like the amount of stuff they were doing and jumping off ladders through and putting people through tables and stuff. It was so good. And then The Rock wrestled Hulk Hogan, I'm pretty sure. And then there was Stone Cold had a match against someone as well. Anyway, I might be getting those mixed up, but I kind of grew out of that pretty quickly. But it's great to see. Like, it was really interesting to see how it became the thing that it is now.
Yeah, well, it's similar with the Andre the Giant one. It's such an iconic wrestling character of his time.
Yeah, exactly, and a big part of Vince McMahon's rise to power as well.
Yeah.
Anyway, we'll move on from wrestling. But Joe, you've been reading a book recently that you wanted to share about, not wrestling.
It's
a big shift.
Nothing as hectic as WWE.
Probably a bit more edifying. Your choice.
Or just I just haven't been watching enough docos or wrestling.
Yeah, exactly.
Actually, just a quick one though. Where does so I came in watching a little bit of wrestling, like when I was also in high school. Where does the Undertaker come in that evolution of that? Is he
That's
part
an
of that?
interesting question. I don't know for sure. And I know that Michael Greaves will be listening to this and saying exactly when it is. My guess would be
Stone Cold.
Yeah, but I think he was a bit earlier than that. So he's a bit older than Stone Cold, I think.
Okay.
I think it's probably early-ish 90s.
Yeah, right.
But while you... gosh,
but he was part of that, was it?
Yeah, definitely was part of that.
Was Kane his brother?
They said he was his brother. I don't think he really was.
So these fake brothers.
They were both huge. Yeah. So there's a bit of fake brothership around in
in the
wrestling world.
What's the dude with the sock? The crazy dude. What's his name?
Mankind was one of his characters. Mick Foley is his real name.
That's one.
He was crazy.
Yeah.
He would put thumbtacks on the ground and then get people to throw him on it. And there's that shot of when Undertaker throws him off the top of the cage through the announcer's table.
Yeah.
And he's lost all his teeth. And that's the thing. It is fake, right? But they're still getting hurt all the time.
Oh, totally.
There's like Hulk Hogan in that documentary. In the first episode says, well, I've had 23 surgeries in the last 10 years, so tell me it's fake, kind of thing. I don't know if you've seen, Jake Paul, the YouTuber Jake Paul. So
yes.
He turns up in various pay-per-views, and he is exactly like them. He's absolutely wild and does amazing things. Anyway, I appreciate the athleticism. I think that's what I appreciate. Yeah. Back to your book, though, John.
Yeah, onto books. For some reason I haven't been watching much recently, not even chess that I mentioned last time on YouTube.
Yeah, you did say that last time.
It makes me sound kind of bit of a geek, but promise there are other things. But recently I've been into biographies, and Mary actually gifted me a book. It's an autobiography of a missionary, of a guy who I think in the mid-1800s, John Paton, who was the first missionary to the New Hebrides, which is Vanuatu, I think now.
Okay.
Yeah. And I haven't even gotten up to like where he actually goes overseas, but there's just something about the Scottish, actually, the way they tell stories, the way they're so fond and affectionate about their family history, where they grew up. That's been just really wonderful to read. And he talks a lot about the village where he grew up, where they moved around, his grandparents, and just the last chapter, just talking about his father and how he wasn't a minister or any kind, but he was just a really faithful, godly man who loved his family, loved his church. And he describes just like, I think it was a town called Dumfries in Scotland, and how it was just a small town, but just all the little interactions and relationships that he had, how he really enjoyed just being part of his family, but also really enjoyed going to church, which was different from a lot of other kids, but he just said he really loved doing that with his dad and his family.
So what's the appeal? Why do you like that so much?
Yeah, well, I think just even just the language he uses, just all the details that he uses to kind of paint the picture of his childhood, growing up in this little village. He describes like his house, like really simple things, but his house and all these little details about the thatched roof and the fireplace and all that, and kind of I don't know, maybe it's because being former architect, like it kind of builds this picture, this kind of world.
Yeah.
And that really appeals to. So for me, I get to kind of see that in my mind of kind of his childhood, what it's like. There's the encouragement of, his father, just being a really wonderful model of prayer and commitment to his family. That's really lovely as well.
That's awesome.
So yeah.
But he hasn't even got to...
And he hasn't even got to...
the islands yet.
Yeah, that's right. His missionary work. But there's a little world that's been built in my head of kind of his life.
I just was Wikipediaing John Gibson Paton, if you're interested in looking at him. He developed, when he was in the New Hebrides, he developed small industries for them, such as hat making. But he advocated strongly against the form of slavery, which was called blackbirding, which I haven't heard about, but involved kidnapping natives and forcing them to work in New Zealand and elsewhere in that area. So it's cool that he advocated against that.
Yeah.
He was a man of robust character and personality too, apparently. So that's really cool. I mean, I'm interested to hear how you get through the rest of the book. Is that a big one?
It's good.
No, it's not too bad. Okay, that's good.
Yeah.
I just bought a book called Silk Roads, which is another cultural artifact. I've been listening to a podcast called Empire, and they look at how other empires have established themselves. They start with it's a historian and a journalist, and they've started with, we've talked about the Rest is History podcast before, it's in that similar vein, and it is the first season they did on the British Empire, and I was like, not really interested in that. But the second season, which came out in 2022, and I'm listening to it now, is on the Ottoman Empire, which is how that came out of the Middle East and then came across almost all the way, it came all the way to Europe, really. But what's interesting is they had a guy that they had on, his name, Frankopan is his last name. I forget his first name. But he was fantastic in helping you understand. Constantinople, this was like the middle, and even in biblical times, that area is just the middle of the world. Like it's the center of the world at the time. And so his book, Silk Roads, talks about all those empires that came from the east that have influenced, because we kind of think that Western European empires just existed forevermore, really, but it's not actually true, that the empires that came from the east were the far more advanced empires after the Roman Empire. And that's what his book traces through and how that's influenced history to today. So I've bought that book arrived last night, and I was reading a little bit of it, and I'm like, man, it's similar to Paton. Yeah. The way this guy writes, it's like, I just want to read more about it. It's a very hard to find skill, because I've read biographies before, and sometimes this is a bit of a drudgery. This or a history book, but this I'm like, I read the preface. He talked about why he thought that there must be more to history than just learning about things about English history, and how he's in the first 3 pages it's like the preface. He's written about, I found new maps, and that there was maps that were basically using Constantinople as the center of the world rather than how we usually see the maps, for example, of the world and things like that. Yeah. And I'm like, I'm hooked. I want to read more about this already. So I can understand why you like reading that book so much. Yeah. But let's get on to why we actually got you two on the podcast. Not just because Stuart and Tim aren't here, but you guys are in charge or responsible for a number of our off-site church plants away from our hub. We call it about a hub and spoke model. You're kind of in charge of some of the spoke gatherings. Jai, you're in charge of Yarrawarrah and Cronulla gathering, and Joey at Ryde. When we come back to you to start with, Jai, what's been exciting for you in the last few years? Because how long have Yarrawarrah and Cronulla been going for to begin with?
I think this year Yarrawarrah is, I think it's the 5th year for Yarrawarrah, which would make it maybe the 6th year for Woolooware, Cronulla.
Okay, because it started at Woolooware, didn't it? Then moved to Cronulla.
Yeah.
So something that we like to talk about is using an iterative process of working out what works and then what doesn't work and then changing it and moving forward.
Yep.
I would say that Yarrawarrah, and you correct me if I'm wrong, Yarrawarrah and Cronulla have really gone through a number of those iterations.
Yeah.
How has that been for you running those gatherings? And has it been hard having to try and figure it out, or has it been fun?
I like change. I like things. I don't like sort of doing the same things over and over again. So for me, I find some of those changes and shifting gears exciting, but know that I have a team of people that don't always feel that. So the difficulty is in trying to enjoy those changes and move with those changes, but also help people navigate those changes so they're less scary.
And Yarrawarrah in itself has moved more to an outdoor gathering now as well.
Yeah,
what was the thinking behind that?
It was thinking about how do we reach people in a public community hall that wouldn't normally go to church, and I guess just trying to work out how do we be more present in the community and actually be seen, opposed to hiding in a building. And so we had there was a local rugby, a Golden Oldie rugby team meeting, and they started to pop down. And so we started just doing stuff more outside. And then over the summer period, we kind of were doing it almost every week, and barring weather and those sorts of things. And just started seeing people just stopping, and whether it was grabbing a coffee or just asking what we were doing. And so we realised that actually being outside has some shadows, but it had some really positive things. So staying outside means we were able to have conversations with people and just be really present and visual in the community each week. Okay,
and shifting over to Cronulla, is it similar with that, or because you've moved a number of locations for Cronulla as well? Yarrawarrah's had 2 different locations. Cronulla now, well, if you count Woolooware, it's 3 different locations.
Yeah, we're in our 3rd location now. So that's been, again, lots of fun things and challenging things, exciting things to work with. But one of the downsides is that because we've moved, 3 times over that 6-year period plus lockdown, it meant that we lost a lot of continuity, and we kind of got a bit of a head of steam up while we're at Woolooware, and then lost that. And so we're just starting to get that back again, which is good. Place where we're in now is fantastic. It's a really good site. And we've shifted to doing our afternoon teas and just sort of hanging out before church outside, which has been a huge thing as well.
So both Yarrawarrah and Cronulla now do more things outside, more visibility in the community.
Yeah.
What do you think that has done for, obviously you said people will see you more. Yep. What do you think it does for the church? Are people more willing to check it out, or is it good for the people at church to be more open-minded towards other people coming in? What do you think are the benefits of actually being outside?
The benefit is being that we are seeing people wandering past and asking what's going on. We've also had people, because we're, especially at Cronulla, we're renting the Uniting Church Hall there, and the whole site actually. And when people come past, a lot of people are saying, "Oh, we didn't think anything was here anymore."
Oh,
and so actually being outside is actually making people go, "Oh, actually, we thought this was just an empty building, and like no one went to church anymore, but here you are." And so that's been a bit of a shock and an interest to people. And so some people have gone, "Oh, well, we might check it out," and have come and checked out what's going on. In terms of people at church, it's been good because it's helped people think about, well, we're not just here to get into our little sort of huddle and do church together, but we're actually meant to be on mission. That's the whole reason why we plant churches, so we can reach people that are being reached. And people actually, being outside are going, "Oh, okay, well, I need to talk with people." But I think it's also showing that, it's not just as simple as being outside. You actually have to be intentional as you're outside.
Oh, and what does that look like? If you're being intentional or not being intentional?
So not being intentional is that, we just sit outside, and it'd be like, if you sat out on your front lawn with your family and had a picnic.
Yep.
The whole point is just your family having a nice, lovely picnic on the front lawn. It's not about, you're not looking out for people walking past and saying, hey, come and join our picnic.
Mm.
You're just doing something for yourself. Mm-hmm. And so to do that, to be intentionally outside, is to actually be looking at people as they're walking past and trying to engage with them as they wander past.
Okay.
And actually invite them in, opposed to just going, well, we're doing our thing and people can just walk past. It doesn't matter.
And that's been working well, right? Because I think Fee, who's been on this podcast and is a part of the core team at Cronulla, was saying that 39 people you had on the weekend?
Yeah, yep.
So that's the highest it's been for a long time, is that right?
Yeah. So, it's with all the sort of moving, we've kind of gone up and down quite a lot. And when we did the most recent move, I think we dropped down to, I think it was maybe just a bit under 15.
Mm.
And so to get back up has been really good.
Mm. Would that be one of the struggles? I'll ask this question for you in a sec, Joey. Same one, actually. But you're someone that's been planning churches now for at least 5 years, as you said, with Yarrawarrah. Is that hard as a pastor? Like you had to go through all these ups and downs, COVID, moving location, trying to bring people along with you.
Yep.
What's the thing that keeps you going, and what's the thing that's probably the hardest?
The thing that's probably the hardest is not having your own space.
Yeah.
And so it's always borrowed space. And so how do you make that borrowed space feel like it is your space is one of the difficulties. And also knowing that space could change at any moment. And someone decides that they want to do something there, or they don't want you there, or whatever else. So that's a difficulty.
Mm. And it's one of the reasons why we haven't found schools to be very useful, because there's a lot of setup packed down. We know it's a very temporary venue.
Yeah, and schools are schools. That's like you people just don't walk past schools and go, oh, I'm going to go for a wander around the school, and or I'm going to hang out in the school. Like it's very much, they're designed to be a certain way. Joey would know as a former architect, like the style and the design of buildings is not for sort of inviting people in.
Not conducive, is it?
No. And now that we've got those big fences up around, like it's just nothing says stay out, like a military.
A large black fence.
Yeah. And so moving around and that sort of fragility of the actual place that you were in is one of the difficulties. What was that? Sorry, forgot the other question. It was a positive one.
Yeah, what does it keep going?
What does it keep going? Because I think, biblically this is what we're meant to do. We're meant to plant churches to reach people. I think it complements existing churches really well, because it starts. We've had people come and check out us at Yarrawarrah or Cronulla and go, "Oh, church isn't as bad as I thought it was, but we want something a little bit bigger." So they've gone and checked out other churches that are already existing. So I think some of the positives is actually just getting people who are disconnected or never connected with church back into churches again, whether it's one of our churches or any church. It's all about God's kingdom, not our individual kingdoms. And by God's grace, some people stay and we're starting to see that sort of build up of our church plants. But we also know that some stay for a little bit and then go and join other churches, and that's fine too.
Yeah. Joey, with Ryde, it hasn't moved as much as Cronulla especially has. But do you echo the same things that Jai says, or your kind of struggles a little bit different?
Well, in terms of echoing, just even some of the cool things that have been happening with going outside. So we're not doing church outside, like we're still in the hall at Ryde Prezi. But one of the things that we've been learning from kind of the experiments and what
iterations.
Yeah, the iterations. That iterative design is just trying things like pushing out our welcoming, our coffee at the beginning of just before service to the front and outside.
Mm-hmm.
And there've been some really encouraging and cool conversations that have come from that. One of the people who are regularly coming, kind of exploring Christian faith, came because he lived across the road.
Right.
And I think he was actually meeting someone else on that afternoon, but we were outside having coffee, and one of our guys just went up and said, "Oh, hey, how you going? What have you been up to this afternoon?" And through just getting to know the guy, he was like, "Oh, yeah, we've got church here. We do coffees in the afternoon." And that guy has been coming along actually regularly.
Wow, that's great.
Awesome.
And sometimes it's there for kind of the social aspect, but he's more and more just happy to stay and stay for the service, hang around for dinner, and sometimes when we have like late night chats, he sticks around, and so it's been really cool to see that working, and we want to keep seeing what we can do with that as we try and welcome people and look into the community of like Meadowbank and Ryde.
Okay. Yeah. And it's really cool to hear. So it's interesting, those kind of strategies that we apply across all of our gatherings, but in different practice sometimes. We've talked about before on the podcast of our theology strategy practice. And we think the key differentiator is the strategy of we want to spend lots of time together when we are at church. So we're low-key, long-term, relational. We want to, I mean, you kind of see that playing out, don't you, with a guy who's just across the road. If you just you've got that outdoor element of just like, we're just there they're in the community in a sense, and someone's interested. But then to be able to have that extended time to spend with each other, they might not even come for the gathering. It's our third place idea, where we can have a place where we still always have a church service, like no matter what. We definitely have that. It's a real core part of what we do as church. But then we have the pieces either side, where it's before or after, to really gain that relational time, spend time with each other and build those relationships, which it sounds like what's happening at both these gatherings. Like we're outside, and then also like, hey, we're just going to hang out and spend time with each other. I suppose my question is then, Joey, what do you think the struggles are for you at the moment, and what are you finding difficult?
Yeah,
because they were all really good things. That's the only reason I'm saying that.
I think it continues to be just the location, the area that we're in geographically of Meadowbank, and just that density of apartments that are there. And that's the area that we want to reach, given that, I guess, in that area, I think there's one other church down by the river.
Okay.
And then there's our church and Ryde Prezi. And then I guess across the road there's St. Anne's Ryde, Anglican church there, that also, that we kind of partner with, look after that kind of area. But I think the tricky thing is, like reaching the people in those apartments, being able to be in that community and find ways to invite those people or get to know people there. That's been one of the tricky ones. Even just, the simple thing of whether it's social media or leafleting, or like, when we're trying to advertise or something, like even getting into some of those apartments, it's not possible. And so you kind of miss out on being able to invite people to church or some of your events. That's been interesting. On the other hand, that has been difficult, but the people some of the non-believers or people who are investigating Christianity who are coming have been like, there's this kind of main street, Bowden Street, that kind of heads towards the river from our church. And the people who are coming like kind of live, so the people who have been coming, they live in those apartments and those houses. But we're seeing this kind of creep of more and more people slowly joining us who live closer to the river.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Like slowly working your way
slowly
down the
working
road.
our way down. So that's what I've been trying to describe.
Yeah. That's right.
But that's so that's been cool to see what God's been doing. It's been slow, but like at the beginning we were like, well, how do we do it? And part of it has been just persisting in prayer. Sometimes when we go leaflet, we'll leaflet like this whole block, pray for this apartment block, and then just go to the next one. So it's been cool to see what God's been doing there.
What do you think, in terms of, just one more question on Ryde, what do you think if you've noticed anything, what's the difference between kind of Meadowbank Ryde area and where we are right now in the Shire, in the Solomon Shire? What are the big differences? And we'll get Jai to talk about what maybe the kind of community issues or struggles are that might be stopping people coming to church. But I'm interested what you think for Meadowbank Ryde to begin with.
Yeah. I think perhaps one of the most obvious things is like the Shire is quite like there's identity obviously of being in the Shire, but also geographically you kind of have this like a space that's bounded.
Oh, the insular peninsula.
Yeah, I wasn't going to go there, but yeah, I guess like that's one of the
bridge and bush.
Yeah.
But yeah, like that's fascinating, I think, for me, like in terms of how that affects people's like where they go, how far they're willing to go. But then also the community that builds, the relationships that are there. It seems like, you kind of feel like community and home is in this area. And I think that has strengths, like it lends itself to kind of like through those relationships, being able to invite people to church, and it's not like so far that you could probably go to. There's so many good churches in the Shire that we partner with. But I think in Meadowbank and Ryde, it's firstly like it's a bit more disparate. Like people, it's kind of less bounded, I suppose. People, and in terms of Ryde, the whole area of Ryde, relationships are spread further across.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. People are probably more used to just going further.
Oh, they're more transient?
Maybe.
More in and out?
Yeah,
okay.
So, but also, I guess in Meadowbank, in the recent, decade or so, that massive apartments going up, and also just a lot of people, some moving in. So some people, like there's young families, but also from immigration, like people from Korea, India, China, a lot of them buying into the area.
Okay.
And because like apartments more so than houses, like being cheaper than houses, that's kind of like the first place that they kind of settle into. So I think we've seen a lot more of, those kind of families and those people in the area. I guess
it's just interesting how the demographics of the area will kind of change what our practice ends up being. So as we said, we don't change too much in our theology and strategy, but our practice is the bit that's flexible. Yeah. Joe, do you think Joey is spot on with the description of the Shire, first of all, which I think he was. Like, there's more houses, obviously, but there's also a particular identity in the Shire.
Oh, totally, yeah.
But also, how do you think like your practice would be different to Ryde's in terms of what the actual demographic characterisation of the Shire is?
Yeah, like with Cronulla, there's so many people going to Cronulla to the beach on a weekend that it's just the culture of the beach is just right there. So it's and people drive from all around the Shire to get there. So it's not just Cronulla people. And Yarrawarrah, it's different again. It's people aren't driving to Yarrawarrah to hang out in Yarrawarrah. It's a little bit more sort of west of the beach, but it's right near a highway where a lot of people are driving past to go either south or to Cronulla or the national park or wherever. And so in terms of the two, even though they're both in the Shire, the culture of the two areas is very different. And the people in both of those places are very different. Cronulla is actually, you've got a lot of young couples who are working without kids or retirees are sort of more. There's not a lot of young families in Cronulla. Mm-hmm. Where in Yarrawarrah you've probably got more young families, and that's sort of less retirees and people, young couples working, those sorts of things. But one of the things that both places have, and it's one of the things and Joey's pick up in the Shire, is that a lot of what people do people who live in the Shire, a lot of what they do is in the Shire.
Yeah.
They may go to the city for work or things like that, but everything they do is in the Shire, socially, recreationally, all those sorts of things. The sporting scene in the Shire is really big, so everyone's there's connections there in those communities. Whether it's the beach, as I mentioned at Cronulla, or going down, people on the boats or going wherever it might be. And a lot of people even work in the Shire, and then you've got a number of large schools in the area. So there's all these sort of little community hubs all around the place.
How does that? Is there a shift or a change between your practice at Cronulla and practice at Yarrawarrah in regards to those different types of either families or the demographics? Does that change at all?
It does in a way. I think and fortunately, where we're at with Yarrawarrah at the community hall there, there's a playground there which allows us to be able to use that while we're doing other things. And also, because Yarrawarrah, it's on the way to other things. And so I guess being outside for the entire service and actually only doing it for half an hour instead of an hour or more lends itself a bit more to capturing those people who are on their way to other things. We don't do it because of that. It's just something that I guess is we do the half hour service because we don't have any musicians there to do singing and those sorts of things, and so it's a necessity at this point in time. But it's also been helpful in capturing those in that sort of area. Where at Cronulla, even us on a Sunday night, people are likely to hang around, especially in the warmer times of the year, happy to hang around after church, after dinner, and even a few times we've gone for a walk after church down to the beach and just hung out down in the parks there, or gone and got gelato and hung out down there and those sorts of things. So those sort of little tweaks that we probably wouldn't do that at Kirrawee, for example. You might not do that at Ryde, a little bit further to go to the beach at Ryde. But
go down to the river.
Go to the river. It might not have the same kind of feel, but so just little things. So it's not huge, drastic shifts. It's just going, what's helpful for where we're at.
Yeah, okay. Joey, looking forward, what do you see for Ryde in 2025? Any thoughts on that so far? And we'll come to Joy and his thoughts on that too.
We've been, I guess, particularly as a church plant, one of the goals that we're hoping to get to is by February, we'd love to have just a regular kind of a gathering of about 40 people. And that's one of the things that includes is kind of helping our launch team to kind of have a concrete idea of, the people that we have at the moment, how do we grow in maturity, but also those who are looking into Christianity, we want them to know Jesus, and we want them to really actually turn to God as the true and living God. So how do we help them to kind of not just become regulars, but, to be saved and come into the faith and be part of our church, be on mission with us in Meadowbank. And so that's kind of where we're heading in terms of beginning of 2025. We're hoping to kind of also, we've got one kind of pretty big kind of community group at the moment, but we're hoping to bud and to have two groups where we can accommodate more people, invite more people as well. But just really be able to enjoy time in God's Word together but probably begin to expand and to train up more leaders in that space.
Yep.
Yeah. In terms of like big things, that's probably still in the works, but it doesn't seem like there's too many like massive changes that we're going to be making. We feel like we're kind of set up ourselves to know how to reach out to Motorbank, and we're going to probably try a few different things, but nothing too big in terms of changes in terms of Ryde.
Yeah, I think they're not massive. I think they're really good goals to have, especially only just for next year.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, just to grow and to grow other people in their faith and maturity. Like I think that good moves to make, all under what God's got planned for us.
Yeah.
Joey, what have you got looking forward to for Yarrawarrah and Cronulla as we end this year and then go into 2025?
Yeah, well, we're plans at the end of this year to celebrate the 5 years of Yarrawarrah.
Oh, cool.
And one of the things, with trying to get people along to church is sometimes a thing to go to at church is helpful. So like a birthday celebration and those sorts of things. So we're hoping to use that as to invite people to come along. And so, we'd love to see Yarrawarrah continue to grow, and it is growing bit by bit. We'd like to see it grow a little bit quicker, but, God's timing. And just thinking about how, I guess, is just trying to figure out what is next. Right? What is the next logical, what is the next step? How long do we stay outside? What point do we want to move inside? Those sorts of things will be big decisions to make next year. And so I'm looking forward to some of those things. Again, because it's changed, so I quite enjoy that. But then working out how we manage that with people who may not be as keen on change. So that's with Yarrawarrah, Cronulla. We're really excited about what happened on the weekend, but knowing full well that this weekend we could be, it could be a bit of a blip, and that happens. But just thinking about how we can sort of keep those highs more regular, and then how we build on that moving forward, and adding some more people to some key leadership positions will also be one of the things we'll be looking at for next year. And then probably we might build an extremely large telescope or something. No, I don't know.
Get people in. Would be cheap too.
But I don't know. It's a bit like Joey. It's just the small things. As we move forward, just to tweak and add and
iterate again.
Yeah, exactly right. As we go forward and see where God has us in store. The great thing is we just signed a new 1 year lease where we're renting, so we know we're there for another year.
Oh, that's good.
So that's but and again,
and they've been wonderfully welcoming as well, haven't they?
So good. And one of the things I'd like to look at next year too, with Cronulla in particular, is how we can partner with some of the churches down there.
Right.
Because it is, the ground down there is a bit harder. The soil's a bit harder down there. And Yarrawarrah are looking at new initiatives and things we can do up there as well.
Yeah, awesome.
Will be fantastic.
All right. My final question for both of you, we'll start with Joey though, is obviously there'll be other pastors out there church planning. What's like, given you've been doing it for a while, both of you, Joey a little bit longer, what would be the thing that you would like to pass on to someone else that's maybe think about planning a church or just started church planning?
Oof. So many things. I think what I've really valued, particularly and more as I've been doing it, has been building the relationships within our team. Mm-hmm. And I think that's been just become more and more important in my mind of how crucial it is to partner and to, as the church partner, rely on the team to and to really appreciate kind of all the effort and the teamwork that goes into it. I think I underestimated the amount of I thought for me to be able to lead the team and communicating kind of the vision that the team, like I knew it was there, but I think it's just impressed upon me more and more what it means to be able to share that vision and that love for the gospel with the team. And then, to build in the friendships, put in the energy and the love to kind of spend time together, so that we're doing it together, we're on mission together, we're growing in maturity together. It sounds really basic, really simple, but I think that's been just more and more, I've valued that, appreciated that, I'm thankful to God for that, and encourage, I guess, other church planners to just be also pursuing that. And
fostering those relationships, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. What do you got, Jai? What would you pass on?
Like doing it not by yourself, doing it with others is always it's so much better and more fun. I want to echo what Joey just said. And also, I think people often talk about various things and like church planning and other things. Talk about it's a marathon, not a sprint. Those sort of things. I think actually church planning is a bit more like a roller coaster. Because there's full of there's ups and downs, there's twists and turns, and it goes slow, it goes fast, and it's fun and exciting, or you can be absolutely terrifying. And I think knowing that it's like that, I think is helpful to know that, but just to enjoy the ride. And whenever I'm on a roller coaster, I have no idea how roller coasters work, but I trust that it's going to get me there safely, and that's the thing. Always trusting in God, whether we're up, down, twisting, doing loops to loops, whatever else. it's all part of the journey that God has us on, and the destination at the end is sometimes it's a church that's growing and flourishing, and sometimes it's a church that needs to cease to be, and there's the next step. There's something else. Like the journey's not always the same for everyone. The destination's not the same for everyone, but the journey of the twists and turns and everything is what we all go through when we plant churches, and we should expect that, I guess. And so if you are experiencing that, it's normal, I guess. I just want to say that.
Yeah, no, I think that's a good way to finish. Because there can be a lot of pressure with church planning to be whatever you deem is successful, whether it's a number of people there or money or whatever it is, but I think there's a lot more to it than that. It's like you're saying, you're trying to reach people for the gospel, and if it's only a few people, then you've achieved your goal of planning a church. But it's hard. I think that's the other thing, but there's a lot of joy along the way as 100%. Well. Yeah. So it's been awesome. Thank you very much in this episode for jumping in and teaching us. Thank you both for your service, of course, for serving Sorrowville and everyone at Sorrowville. So that's awesome.
Thank you.
We'll be back next week with at least Tim. I think Stu's back as well. So because he's on holiday, he's on an overseas holiday.
Yes, so. I think he's back next week.
Yeah, okay, so he'll be back next week. But thank you for jumping in and teaching us about church planning, because a lot of things that I didn't know about church planning.
There you go.
Yeah, and also thank you to everyone listening or watching. Appreciate your time. You can contact me, joel@shockersorbit.com.au, if you have any questions, or you can drop a comment on our YouTube channel. That really helps. Tell us anything you've learned about church planning, or something you want to teach us about church planning. That would be amazing as well. But for now, we will sign off and be back next week. And thank you very much, Jai and Joey. And we'll finish with a one way.
One way.
One way.